Welcome to Inside Racing. Most retired jockeys can be found at the occasional race meeting, but when John Duggan quit the saddle in 1990, he all but vanished. I made it my business to track him down recently, and I was delighted to find him fit and well and only a few kilos above his old riding weight. John's working for a company involved in the construction of factories and is a member of the team that moves in on completion to apply the finishing touches. In a relatively short riding career, John Duggan reached the pinnacle of his profession and was one of an elite group of riders to win a Melbourne Cup and a Golden Slipper. Not bad for a kid who was one of a large family with no racing background.
I had 5 brothers, 3 sisters, and I think Mum was always barefoot and pregnant all the time.
Yeah. Your dad was a brickie. He was a hard worker.
Yeah, he was a hard worker, and in those days, the mother didn't work, so it was very hard work. And to feed 8 children, it's very difficult. You don't realise it till later on in life.
At about age 5, Dad moved you all to the Sydney suburb of Peakhurst, and you're still living in that district.
Yeah, you come back to your old roots, they say, and I've finished up moving back to the family home at Peakhurst, and they're very happy there at the moment.
Now, John, there was a riding school there in the vicinity, which you found yourself drawn to at about age 5 or 6.
Yes, that's right, Old Saunders Riding School, they used to call it, up the top of Henry Lawson Drive there. And I used to go up there every breaking moment to break my neck to ride the horses. And that's more or less where I learnt to ride. Not so much as a jockey, but learnt the love of horses and the respect of horses. And that's where I learnt begun my trade.
You probably owe a lot of your racing success to one of your high school teachers, a lady by the name of Mrs. Calvert, who raced a few horses, and she had them with a Randwick trainer, Tommy Ward.
I used to pack my bags at home of a weekend, and I'd go and spend weekends with her, and then during the school holidays, I'd spend with her as well. And because I was always little, she said to me as a school teacher would to you, she said, "John, would you like what are you going to do when you finish school?" And I said, "I don't know." And she said, "Why don't you be a jockey?" And I said, "I've never thought of it." So that's how I become attached to racing. But she often gave me the break. She had a son, Jonathan Calvert, who was a jockey as well.
Mm. So you learned the fundamentals with Tommy Ward, brother of Arthur Ward. Never trained a big team of horses, Tommy Ward, but he always had a handy one, and he could certainly get one ready. Yeah,
that's right. He was. He only had a horse called Sir Gareth and Nookamai, I think, was the names of them at the time, and they were pretty ordinary maidens. But his brother Arthur Ward was one of the leading trainers at the time. He had some great horses there.
Well, when the desire to become an apprentice jockey finally overwhelmed you, you didn't mess about, you went straight to the top. You applied for a job with the legendary Theo Green, who took you on, even though his place was full of apprentices. Who was there at the time?
Yes, that's right, John. We had R. Quinton, who won, I think, 8 Sydney Jockeys Premierships, who was a great rider. S. Spinks, who was probably one of the best riders I've ever seen. And Billy Prain and Johnny Paya. And during that time, you're only allowed 4 apprentices, 4 apprentices at a time. And Theo said to me, "Well, son," he said, "if you want to be with me," he said, "you're going to have to wait 2 years till one of the boys come out of their time." And
before he could actually indenture you.
Before he could actually indenture me, so.
Yeah, so for 2 years you did all the dirty work around the place.
For 2 years, yeah, that's right. I'd done all the dirty work, but he was such a great man that I didn't mind. He was the only one I ever wanted to be with.
Did you get to ride at all in that 2-year period?
Yeah, I did. I rode. We had to wait for the horses right for me to come in from spells, but we used to ride 1 or 2 horses, just track work, and Ronnie Quinton or Theo himself would ride beside me. And if I had my arms sticking out too much, he'd push my arms in or my legs in, or used to just handpick his boys.
Theo was one of the old school who ran a really tight ship, and his strictness was legendary. How tough was he?
Yes, he did. Well, Theo was he was a great man, as I said, but he was very tough with his boys. He'd come in on our Saturday and Sunday night off. He'd come in at 10 o'clock. All his boys, all his apprentice boys had to be in bed at 10 o'clock. And he'd come in and shine the torch in and make sure we were. But the stable boys were allowed to go out with, you know, girls, whoever, but we weren't allowed any cars, girlfriends, or late nights all the time, till for me anyway, it was from 14 years of age to 21.
Now, he wouldn't tolerate unruly behaviour from any of his apprentices, and there's one legendary story that you might be able to confirm concerning Ronnie Quinton, who once gave him a little bit of cheek.
Yeah, that's right, John. Well, everyone loses their temper at one stage or another, and Ronnie and Theo were talking, and Ronnie finished up swearing at Theo, which he didn't cop, but didn't say anything either. And Ronnie just done his block of Theo. So anyway, on the Thursday when we got our rides, Theo didn't take any rides for Ronnie. And Ronnie's walked out Friday morning and he said, "Oh, boss," he said, "how many rides have you taken for me for Saturday?" And he said, "I haven't taken any rides for your son. Because remember, you swore at me. I told you about swearing, and there's only one boss in this place, and that's me." Mm-hmm. So he said, "I didn't take any rides for you, and you'll be sitting on the sideline Saturday."
So he didn't forget that lesson?
No, he didn't. No, it was a very hard lesson, especially to Ronnie, because he's always been known to be tight with a quid. So he didn't like it at all.
John, I'd love to be able to say that your first race ride was a winner, but I can't say that because according to the record books, it ran stone motherless last. It was at Rose Hill, a filly called September Girl.
Yes, I still remember it today, John. It's gone so quick the time. She was a chestnut filly with a white face. And Theo just said to me, son, he said, just bounce her out the gates and let her have a look around, just trail them around last. Let her have a look around and study the other jockeys' colours, and just try to know where you're going. It was a very exciting time for me, but it didn't take me long to hit my straps. I rode my second ride was a winner in a race, so that was a horse called Marble Clock at Hawkesbury.
Right. Now, amazingly, you didn't ride your first winner for the Theo Green stable. Marble Clock was trained by Frank Penfold at Rose Hill.
Yes, that's right. Frank was a great person, and he had a riding school himself, Frank Penfold. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what made him put me on, but Theo Green's friends were great stickers to all his boys, so that's probably the reason I was put on it.
Now, your first city winner was for the late Terry Pracey, who died much too soon, just a couple of years ago, and it was a horse called Flying Harlequin.
Yes, that's right. It's I finished up winning 3 in a row on Flying Harlequin after riding my first winner in a race, and that's more or less what I think kicked me off kicked me off as an apprentice, and I finished up winning about 3 apprentice premierships, I think.
Now, John, you mentioned Gordon Spinks earlier on. You said that he was one of the best riders you ever saw. You absolutely hero-worshipped Gordon Spinks during your apprenticeship?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I copied everything, the way he walked, the way he talked, the way he dressed, and especially his riding. And he was a beautiful rider. Besides him, and probably the only person I've seen was George Moore, probably as pretty on him as on a horse, but he was a great rider, Gordon. I copied off him right from the start of racing.
Your first Group 1 win was an unforgettable experience. You rode a horse for the master trainer George Hanlon by the name of Dark Suit. It was the 1972 Sydney Cup, and the track was an absolute quagmire. Yes,
it was. Yeah, Dark Suit. I got the ride from Melbourne off George Hanlon. I was very happy to be on it. But that day it was pouring, raining, and just about hail. And it beat a horse called Marseilles. Old Jack Thompson, you may remember him. He was a great old horseman.
Trained by Tommy Smith, Marseille.
Yeah, that's right.
Your name figures in Golden Slipper history. You won the Slipper in 1976 for Bart Cummings on a filly called Vivace. and she beat them pointlessly.
She was a very, very speedy filly, and she jumped from the, I think it was about 3 barrier or something, and hit the ground running. And she was never headed then. She went to the front and finished up winning the Golden Slipper by about 3 lengths.
I had no hesitation in going to the front because I was travelling so well.
Worried about Desirable in running?
Well, a filly like Desirable, you're always worried about her. But once I got a furlong out, I knew I had a Desirable beat because I had accelerated too quick down the straight for her to catch me.
You know, Bart Cummings recognised your talent early in the piece, and for 3 or 4 years there in the mid-70s he used you almost exclusively on his horses in Sydney.
Yes, that's right, and I was very happy to be riding for Bart. He was such a marvellous trainer, and always has been. He's proven that over the years. And when I started riding for Bart, Roy Higgins had his Melbourne riding and I had his Sydney riding, but after about 12 months I think Bart wanted to give me the chance in Melbourne as well, so I started riding for Bart in Melbourne as well and replaced Roy.
Now, you were telling me that Bart was a very, very good loser. There'd be no temperament or outbursts when you got beaten on one, or one that you may not have ridden so well.
No, he was great to ride for. I used to love riding for Bart. And he'd give you no instructions going out for the race especially. He'd just say, get the horse in a sort of relaxed position. Not so much as other trainers will say a winning position, where Bart would say a relaxed position.
Yeah.
And let you ride from there. But he was very good. He was terrific to ride for, even after a race. If you got beat on a hot pot, he'd come in and wouldn't say anything. He'd just more or less put it down to the horse had a day off, sort of thing.
You played a prominent part in Melbourne Cup history in 3 successive years. You ran second on Holiday Wagon in 75, you ran second on Golden Black in 76, and then you finally won it on the same horse a year later. But firstly, let's talk about that amazing storm at Flemington an hour before Van der Hum won the Cup. Were they the worst conditions you rode under?
Yeah, they were the worst conditions I ever rode under, John. Yeah, it was coming down in sheets. The rain was really heavy, and actually at the furlong post the water was just running across the track about a foot deep, and unfortunately someone had got into the track the night before or the week before and dug the track up there at the 400 metres mark. And so Bart said to me, whatever you do, he said, where they've dug the track up, he said, you pull out and go around it when you get to the 600 metres. And sure enough, when I've pulled out to go around that patch, Van der Hum just come splashing through on the inside of me. So and we finished up going to the post first and second, so I always sort of blame Bart for that one.
Union, and there with the 100 to go, it's Van der Hum in front in the Melbourne Cup. The Mudlarks got it won, and Van der Hum draws away to win 1.5 lengths to Golden Black.
Now, when Golden Black won the Cup a year later, he had 7 kilos more than he had when he ran second to Van der Hum. So he must have made a lot of improvement in that 12 months.
Yes, he did. Well, he was an immature foal, and I always knew he would improve that extra 12 months, and I thought he was a good thing the year he got beaten, but I thought he was a better thing the year I won it with 57 on my back, and on his back I should say. And that year, fortunately for me, he won it after running 2 seconds. I don't know what I would have done if he hadn't.
Golden Black in front, 100 to go from Reckless joining in. Golden Black tackled by Reckless on the inside. Golden Black the outer, Reckless the rails. Golden Black just in front. Golden Black will win the Cup. Golden Black has won it from Reckless. Hyperno third.
John, that was a long time ago. It's 29 years since you won the Melbourne Cup. But
Yes.
when you sit quietly at home these days thinking about it, can you revisit the magic of the moment? Can you relive the enormous atmosphere?
Yes, I can, John. Well, after the race, they all wanted to interview me and that sort of thing and buzz around me, and I was that uptight and still didn't unwind. I kept away from the paper reporters and that sort of thing for at least an hour after the race before I'd let them interview me. So
Yeah.
it's a marvellous moment. You dream about that. I used to go to bed crying myself to sleep, dreaming of that moment. So it was great to me, and especially after running the 2 seconds, you can imagine what it was like.
And they can never take it away from you. It's in the record books forever. Golden Black, J. Duggan.
Yes, thank goodness. I'm a very proud man to say it is.
The Doncaster was a good race for you too. You won it on 2 occasions. Just Ideal in 1977 and Lawman, again trained by the master George Hanlon.
Yeah, that's right. I was lucky enough to win 2 Doncasters. And Lawman especially came from Melbourne, and I just got the ride on him at the last moment. And I was expecting to gallop him one morning, and George Hanlon said, "No, just take him out," he said, "and canter him round." And I thought the bloke was crazy. But it finished up, he was right on the day, and I was wrong. Lawman finished up winning it.
On his toes, did he?
He had to be fresh and on his toes, that's right.
Yeah. And what about Just Ideal? He was a strong-looking horse.
Yes, he was. He had a big sway back, Just Ideal, but he's a strong horse and he was very impressive.
And right down the outside is Just Ideal. Manawapoi went to the lead, but Just Ideal is coming out after it. Dalrello wanted to hang in behind them. Just Ideal grabbed the lead in the shadows of the post. He's coming away, Just Ideal. Oh, he hung in badly near the line, flattened Manawapoi, but Just Ideal has won.
I think he had the form going into the race, but he was still 33-1 that day, and I really thought he could win.
You rode a couple of Group 1 winners for the legendary T.J. Smith, and one of them was a great filly called Denise's Joy. You won a Victorian Oaks on her.
Yeah, she was a great mare, Denise's Joy. She was she pulled very hard. I remember the race very well. She pulled very hard. She had her tongue over the bit in that race, and I've got a photo at home where she's still got her tongue hanging out the side of her mouth as we hit the line. But she was a beautiful mare.
Well, John, your name also appears in Caulfield Cup history. Again, for T.J. Smith, you won the Cup on a horse called Taxan, and you had a battle royal with your old stablemate, Ron Quinton, who rode R1.
Yes, that's right. Me and Ronnie, I think it was about the only time we ever fought a race out for about a furlong and a half. And, and Taxan was on the fence, his big grey horse. And just as we just approaching the line, Ronnie's grabbed me on R1 and just put his head in front, and Taxan dived back at him, and I couldn't really pick it, but as they've hit the line, Taxan wanted to bring his head back, and it's the first time I've ever done it in racing. I put me hand between his ears and pushed his head down just as we hit the line, and Taxan won by about 2 mil, so it was a great win.
And there's no doubt in your mind that won you the Caulfield Cup.
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind it won me the Caulfield Cup, yeah, and Ronnie Quinton knew it too. We hit the line, and Ronnie said, "You're mad, you bastard." He said, "What did you do?" He said, "You push his head down, go on the line." And I said, "Yeah." He says, "The first time he's ever seen any jockey do it." But he never underestimated me. He knew the determination I had, which got me to the top as a jockey, so
yeah,
I was always very determined.
Yeah, John, that's exactly right. I think that was your real forte, that never say die spirit. You just wouldn't give up on one.
No, that's right, John. I think it's born in you, actually, your determination. It doesn't matter in what sport you're in, and whether you're rugby league or jockey or whatever, you must have that determination to win.
You also had a winning association with Jack Denham, who tended to switch his jockeys, if not from week to week, certainly from month to month. Jack used to like to keep jockeys guessing, but you did ride a lot of winners for him.
Yeah, I did ride a lot of winners for Jack Denham. Yeah, he seemed to like me, but he didn't change me all that much. He used to come looking for me when he thought he had one good enough. And Jack was very good to me. I think I won 2 Black Opals for him, and other major races. So he was a pleasure to ride for too, as well.
You got to ride the spectacular Luskin Star when he was a 3-year-old, and he was transferred from Max Lees to Bart Cummings. You won 3 races on him, in fact, the Expressway Stakes, the Farlap Stakes. Then he went into the Tulloch Stakes over 1,850 metres. but he really couldn't get that trip.
I always wished there was a horse called Kingston Town around, and at the same time as Luskin Star, more or less. And I would have loved to see a match race between them two, because Luskin Star was just flat out getting the mile, whereas Kingston Town could get a strong mile. And I would have loved to see a match race between them two, because I think Luskin Star would have had the start on him at the furlong. But I really don't know who would have won it, to be honest. I think it would have been a great match race to watch between them two horses.
16 days after he was beaten by Lefroy in the Tulloch at 1,850 metres, he came back to 1,100 at Randwick, and this is a good training trick by Bart, to win the Galaxy.
Well, it just shows what type of horse he was, and Bart, what a great trainer he was.
Well, a moment or two back you mentioned the magic words, Kingston Town. Now, you got on Kingston Town in the Peter Pan Stakes because it appears Malcolm wanted to ride another one of T.J. Smith's.
Yes, that's right, John. He wanted to ride a horse called Spear, which I won at Rose Hill on him by about 6 lengths, and he was very, very impressive that day.
What, a week earlier?
A week earlier, that's right. Yeah. And Malcolm said, I want to ride Spear, so he was number 1 for Tommy, so naturally Tommy put him on Spear when he wanted to ride it, and I was lucky enough to get on the King, Kingston Town, so... Yeah. But I said to Malcolm, I said, what, are you completely crazy? And he said, what? And I said, getting off Kingston Town to ride Spear. And he said, oh, he was impressive the other day. And I said, well, I'll tell you at the furlong how impressive he is, because I know what Kingston Town will do to him.
So you had a bigger rap on the King at this time than Malcolm did?
Yeah, I did, that's right. Yeah, Kingston Town was extremely impressive. I thought he would do everything he done. Yeah. And he made mark my words, so yeah. That was great.
You won the Heritage Stakes on him too a little later.
Yeah, I won the Heritage Stakes on him, but John, how that horse could sprint, it was just incredible. He was like a speedboat. Once you asked him for an effort, he'd just drop his backside down like a speedboat into the water and just cruise along. He was such a magic horse, and he could sprint like that for a good furlong and a half, where normal horses only sprint 6 lengths and that's about it, you know.
Yeah. So, did you predict for him at that time the future that was about to unfold?
I couldn't predict all of it, but I predicted he'd win a Cox Plate, and
he won 3.
He surprised me in the Melbourne Cup. I didn't think, even though he was probably a good thing beaten in the Melbourne Cup, but I don't know whether he really stayed the 2 mile or not. No. My opinion, I don't think he did. I think Malcolm got a lot of criticism where it wasn't warranted, and I think the better horse won on the day.
You know, in your quiet moments, you're entitled to feel pretty satisfied with your life in racing. You won a Melbourne Cup, you won a Golden Slipper, and you rode one of the greats of the turf.
Oh yes, John, I'm very proud of what I've done in racing, and it's such an achievement. But I credit that all to Theo Green, my master.
May I, at the risk of embarrassing you, tell you a little story that relates to Theo Green and a conversation I had with him one night at a function. I asked Theo to name the best of all of his star apprentices, and it was a galaxy of stars. And he said, and I don't know that you're aware of this, that when Johnny Duggan was on song, and that's the expression he used, on song, he said he was the best of the lot. Yes,
well, I could never get Theo to admit who was the best, John, so that brings tears to my eyes. I'm a very, very proud man sitting here today to hear that. But that's really, that's worth a Melbourne Cup to me, just to hear that, what Theo Green thought of me. So that's takes a lot of my pride, gives me a lot of pride to think that he said that.